Hey guys, I know I'm tardy to the party. I had the flu all week. I did not feel good at all. And I'm feeling way better now. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah. Let's get right into this. This had some of the best lines I've heard ever in a television series. I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds, by the way. Make sure you comment, share, like the video. It helps me out a lot. Hi to all the new subscribers. I don't know. It's so good. I don't want it to end. Oh my god, and then next week is Movement. Jackasses, why did you put this... I might have to come home and watch the finale and then go back to Movement. Somebody comment the set times for Sunday. Yeah, Detroit Movement this year. Oh god, I think Cascade's that night, damn it. Succession? Is that where we're at? Just appreciate this Qui-Gon Force Ghost I got. Sick, right? Episode 7. Oh my god, I feel... This episode of Succession, I kid you not, it had some of the best lines I've ever heard. When he said... when he said, you get the Nazis, I'll get the libtards. I was like, oh my god, that was so perfect. That, there was a lot of references to pop culture in this that I was kind of like, but this show does it so well where it's like, it won't date it. Because if you don't know and you're not online, you wouldn't know some of the references that they're making, and I really liked that. But, we got Tom with the scorpion, and oh my god, what a dingus. But I thought that did a really good job, and when Shiv pulled it back out later and was like, you're a snake. Here's a dead snake. Wear it as a necktie. It's like, okay, now it's really hitting home. Genuinely think Tom means like this is funny. And here's my thing. My mom has zero respect for Tom. I've always been cheering for Tom. If you've been over here, you've watched any of my reviews, I always say this. I'm like, Tom is the fish out of water hanging. He's the one that you're like, you're cool in school until they're around their bully friends. And then they're acting like the bully towards you. And you're like, Jesus, man, like, why are you doing this to me, you know? Oh my god, when he called it a party prezi, there was a lot of rewatching this episode. I laughed so hard, and you wouldn't think that with this episode. But party prezi, when Lucas said, take me down to the Paradise City, it's just the way he said it that was so funny. Like I said, this had some great one-liners in it. Oh, can we get into this really quick? Okay, I brought this up last week, but not in detail, but if you notice, in season 1, we have Kendall going into the water, killing the waiter, and he could have hurt himself, you know, like, but water is involved. In season 2 is when we have the pool and the yacht, right? And literally, a yacht, you're on the water, but that's Kendall not on his own yet, you know, like, once again, referring to Kendall in the water. Season 3, I was just saying this, what was it? Oh, he almost dies in the pool, and... with all that. And then in season 4 now, we have him swimming on his own in the last episode, and I really like that. So Kendall's really coming into his own. We have the end of the episode with him saying, one head, one crown, like, I'm taking over. And honestly, I do think Kendall thinks he's doing something, but people on Twitter, man, I know Twitter is a cesspool, but this one I audibly laughed at. It wasn't anything against their tweet. It was a funny, good tweet. But I was just like, I sometimes I like respond to things and I don't mean it in a mean way, but I genuinely was like, I laughed out loud at this because this, like, the third line down was, like, Kendall was a involved father. And I was like, what? He hasn't seen his kids in like 3 seasons. What are we talking about here? Like, you don't see his kids. Yeah, they pop up in Italy for a second, but no, I think they want you to know that too. Cause like, remember after Kendall's, whether it was on purpose or not, but suicide issue, Logan really was trying to read to Iverson and stuff. Yeah, he does that jacked up stuff at dinner, but he knows. He just wants, I always took it as Logan wanted to scare Kendall. And this episode did a very good job of, once again, showing that these people are scumbags, but they're not that scummy. I think Kendall saw an opportunity when Lucas went in on Ebba, but I think that him and Roman genuinely, same thing with Roman at the funeral with Carrie. We might not like her, but there's a way to conduct yourself, and I think that Roman really meant it when he walked out and was like, you good? Like, we saw that happen, you good? And I definitely think there was an ulterior motive there, and it ended up working out, but I think they would have done that either way. Yeah, for the first time, we have Kendall talking to Rava, and Rava is the GOAT. Rava is a boss. Like, good for her sticking to being a mom. Like, you see Kendall just reverting immediately to, like, don't you know what I'm doing? Don't you know my importance? And she's like, what does that have to do with calling your daughter? Like, come on, man. But when she let him have it and said, oh, I'm sorry, because you're running your racist news organization? I was like, oh. And I'm sorry, I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on, if you don't see how scary it is in the real world, like, especially with this Tucker Carlson situation in the real world, like, and seeing how much power he had or thought he had or did have in certain situations, and then comparing it to Succession, it's like, whoa, this is scary. Like, it's one thing for us to go like, oh yeah, we think that happens, but when we're watching it happen in real time, in the real world, not on HBO, it's a little sickening. Like I said, it's very different when it's like, damn. It's just power in general, I guess I should say. planning the funeral. Roman says he'll take the spot for speaking. Shiv makes a really good point saying, like, this is going to be some of the most important and influential people in the world at this thing. We have to be careful with it. But I think Roman really means from the heart, because he's like, I'm not about to let Kendall go up and do it and say terrible things about our dad. And I'm not about to let Connor the moron do it. And even when Connor's like, oh, I've been going to the funeral home and seeing his body, and he's like, I'm consoled by the fact that he's not there. That speaks volumes about the character, at both the characters, Logan and Connor. But yeah, no, that's a rough thing to say and not even realize what you're really saying. And throughout this episode, I really liked Connor. The problem with Connor is he's always misplacing when to do things, if that makes sense. Because I'm like, man, Connor, I really appreciate you standing by your wife, you know, like, and I really appreciate you saying the things you said, because we rarely see that from any of these characters. But you're an idiot. You're a moron, and this is so stupid. But Willa is smart. I like Willa. I always liked Willa. Greg firing. I just want to get to the party. So we have Greg firing everybody. We have them getting ready for this party. We have Shiv really, really playing up the Lucas Madsen stuff, and he's a real creep. But notice who runs away the second bad stuff gets brought up. And I mean, I guess it's not home field advantage, and we'll get into more stuff. But yeah, man, he's a douche. So we get to the party. We have Kendall and Roman's great conversation of you get I'll get the libtards, you get the Nazis. I'm like, oh my God. And that's horrible. It's horrible that applies to today. So maybe think about the things you're saying out here or endorsing. But yeah, I'm just not going to go any farther with that. Oh, and that's a big part of the episode too, is they need Nate there. They need Shiv's old banging buddy Nate there, who's like heavily politically involved with Senator Gill. Oh, and I definitely think Kendall didn't like that. He definitely didn't like that he was taking up a lot of Lucas's time, because you have to remember that Nate and Kendall go back. They were friends. That's how him and Shiv met. And I think they were friends at a very hard time in their lives, like when they were kind of topsy-turvy days. So I think that he is tight with Nate. Here's the truth. I don't think Kendall likes anybody coming in and stomping on his ground, just like Logan didn't, and nobody that's going to go, this is my turf, would like, you know? So I think seeing Lucas with other people outside of the family really hit Kendall hard. Literally, my notes say Beardman sucks. And the whole party, Roman's trying to get Connor to quit the race, and he won't do it. And then finally they come to a little bit of an agreement at the end, but still, it's Connor's sticking to this. All Shiv really wants is a space in the company. She wants to be a big person in it, and to find out that Madsen's full of it later really rocks her, because, and here's my thing, Shiv I like, and people were having a lot of opinions on that, but I'm like, man, no, stop this, stop it. But I have an issue with Kendall too. All of these characters are scumbags. People not realize that? I still like them all. But during the moment of silence for Lucas to come walking in, and I don't think that was planned, but I'm like, man, dude, it really shows this character well. But his beard man sucks, that whatever he is, and he's always messed up. And it's like, man, can you not be stoned at one event? Like, I got messed up friends, and I'd be telling them to even it out for when we have important things happening. And I'm not nearly as important as these people are pretending to be, you know? Oh, but Lucas enjoyed that. When Shiv told him, when he's like, it's just gossip and money, and she's like, that's exactly what it is. He really started enjoying himself at this party, I think. We get to Ebba, Beardman, Lucas talking, and then Greg comes in, and he starts talking about earlier in the episode when he was firing all those people and how it doesn't bother him at all. Like I said, Greg is ruthless. Greg might make it to the end, but here's the thing. I didn't know if they would bring up the Me Too stuff from the other episode in, because Greg did screw up there. He might not have done what he said he did, but Tom was absolutely right when he was like, that's a really good look, you moron. Like, why would you say you got with some girl who was drug-addled out of her mind? Like, that's creep shit. And I liked Tom saying that, but Greg just said it to keep Logan from getting mad, you know? And I think that Tom was in the right. I didn't know if they'd bring that up again, but now having Greg sit down and say to this woman, like, I'll fire you right here. I don't know if you're kidding, but then going with that joke and having it go so far, I don't think that Ebba is stupid. And I think that she could and you got to remember Jerry's on the outs too, and she says that to Roman. She's like, I could have taken you to the top. And Jerry's not stupid, and Jerry will know who to bring into the fold if shit goes sideways on her. So I really do think that, I think Ebba is not a dumb person and will be quick to bring that up about Greg, like, participating in that, and to the point where she stomps out. And I really did like Kendall standing up there like Al Swearingen watching this take place and then following her outside. It was a little manipulative, but I genuinely think him and Roman would have done that, like I said. Notice in this episode, and I think this is a buildup of the stages of grief, every time one of these kids is specifically dealing with a situation, they stomp out and go and beat up on somebody else. Shiv with Tom, Roman does it to Connor after shit goes sideways with Jerry. So it's one of those things, and I really like the way they handle that, where every time they're put into a triggering situation or overwhelming situation, they, specifically right now after losing their dad, they're like, I'm going to go resort back to what I know, and that's going off on you or going off on somebody. Roman's firing people, and so I really like them showing that. Greg saying to Lucas, you underestimated me. That's exactly what I wanted. I think Greg meant that. But like I said, I definitely think if these ladies get together or any of them are documenting things, they could come back to bite him in the ass. But I've been saying since the very beginning of Succession that Cousin Greg might go to the top or close to the top. He's the only character that's never fully gone against his family. He's the only one. No matter what, he's always been like Logan and Ewan, his grandpa and his Uncle Logan. No matter what, we didn't turn on each other. And I'm very interested to see the uncle come back into play. But the big stuff is, after the altercation, they find out from Ebba that Madsen's numbers are BS. Now, that's a big deal. Like I said, I'm not no smart person, but I do know you can't say things like that or do things like that. You're affecting thousands of people and jobs and companies, and you can't lie on things like that. So the fact that he's doing that is huge. It's enough for them to go, we're going to fully back out, which is a huge thing to do, too. But then when Shiv confronts Lucas about it, and he doesn't even... I noticed that rewatching it, he doesn't ever take responsibility for it. He goes, who told on me? Ebba or Beardman? And that's a rat thing to say. But after the Jerry situation, Roman gets really aggressive with Connor. Kendall tells Roman to chill. And then after Connor leaves is when Lucas and Kendall have their moment. And I really man, dude, this was great. When Kendall said, I think I am the wave, I was like, oh, Kendall! That was so good. That was so good. I loved that. But if you notice, I know it sounds cliche, but Succession specifically has always used New York as its own character. Remember what Logan said the first season when they go out of the country? He's like, being out of America is soft. Being in Europe is soft. This is soft. And these, like, there's a rigidness to it. And the way Succession has used New York specifically is very representative of that. And when Lucas is going in on LA, it's almost like I felt like they were kind of taking a shot at the U.S. in general, and Kendall's like, no, we still run shit. No, remember we still run shit. And I'm like, oh, snap. And their back and forth was so good. And when Kendall spit back at him, I am the wave, I was like, oh, Kendall, my man, I love it. But when he said, your numbers are gay, this isn't the first time they've made insinuations that Kendall is bisexual or gay, and that's a problem. And so I loved Kendall spitting back, that's kind of homophobic, dude. And it's like, I think part of that is a bit of an act put on because he knows how he's supposed to sound. But the other part of me is like, no, I think Kendall as a character, I think Kendall does genuinely care about people. I do. They're just all screwed up. And also, yeah, he might be. It was a big whoop. Then we get to, oh my God, the fight between... So the whole party, we had Shiv going around like insinuating as a joke that Tom's going to lose his job, and he takes real offense to that, and rightfully so. But my mom has no respect for Tom. She says he's a weasel who can't stick up for himself. And I'm like, yeah, but I feel for Tom. And my mom has zero respect for him, though. And it cracks me up a little bit. But, man, him and Shiv going back and forth, that... Okay, if you've been over here, you know I've been saying I don't think anybody is going to be able to top Lestat and Louis for acting from this past season of Interview with the Vampire. I think that is some of the best acting I've seen in a long time. I'm not saying Succession didn't deserve anything. I love Succession. It's my favorite thing. But I'm like, no. Matthew McFadden and Sarah Snook, whoa. That writing, that acting, that's exactly how it goes when you're at your breaking point with somebody, and it's like, you keep thinking it's going to stop, and then it doesn't. It's like gut punch. We're not watching people punch each other, but it felt like watching Rocky. You know what I mean? And it was like, damn, dude. And then when Tom spit right at her, I wouldn't want to have children with you. And I think Tom meant that. And I've realized, like, and I see where people are coming from saying, like, Tom could be a creep. But I'm like, no, I never took that way. I took it as they were always subverting gender roles with these characters, where they made Tom the more emotional one, and they made her the more, like, I do what I want, I'm out banging. Like, that is not a thing we see in female characters. So I liked that. But Tom trying to have a baby is not no creep shit, in my opinion. In my opinion, that is Tom going, I just want anybody to love me. Nobody can leave this family. If you're saying that about Tom, then you need to say the same things about Rava and about everybody else. You cannot divorce from this family. They stonewall you and screw you over, throw you in insane asylums. Like, Tom has nowhere to go. He just wants something to love him. Like, that's all he wants. Is it in a creep way? Yes. Is he a creep? No. I never thought that about the character. So when people are like, oh yeah, and I believe Shiv when she said, you just wanted me for my DNA, I think Shiv is used to being used. And she really believes that. But I'm concerned, and I've always been concerned, because I'm like, there's a lot of things we'll put up with as an audience. But, and these characters can be scummy, but to full-blown say, like, I'm not going to tell my spouse about a pregnancy or run out and get an abortion behind their back, like, that's, oh no, you know, like, that's rough to do. And so I don't want everybody to hate Shiv by the end, but I don't know where they're going to go with this, and I'm stoked. But yeah, that fight, man, dude, that was rough on both ends. Both the things they were saying to each other hurt, and I kept wanting it to stop, and it didn't. But when Tom walked back into the party and was like, everybody out, I was like, I love you. And then we have Kendall at the very end of the episode talking to Frank, and I'm like, no, it's on now. And when he says we're going to acquire Gojo, I'm like, how are they going to do this in 2 episodes? I'm so excited for this, and like, I'm so sorry that I've been late with these, but we're good now, guys. We're good. I promise. We're actually good this time. Like, I've been struggling with my own shit, and I think I'm finally through it. And I don't know if I'll ever be through it, but I'm okay now. And I'm Abby with Motor City Nerds. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Oh, let's go talk about Game of Thrones or something. Let's go do something fun, because it's Succession Day. Happy Mother's Day. Oh, but I feel good. I hope everybody else is doing good too.